This is hardware maintenance professional course. This course is going to be for absolute beginners. If you want to learn hardware maintenance or you want to become an IT professional or if you want to go for ITF plus examinations or IT essentials, then this course is going to be good for you. The course tutor is Muhammad Misbah Abubakar, a system engineer and IT professional at Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, Nigeria. This course is divided into two parts. Part 1 is a theory and part 2 is practical. This part 1 consists of about 5 modules. Module 1, which stands, we are going to discuss about hardware. Module 2, software. Module 3, network and the mobile devices. Module 4, preventive maintenance. And Module 5, which we are going to discuss computer repairs and maintenance. The course objectives are: you will be able to understand the hardware components, the tools and the safety practices, the preventive maintenance techniques, and how to diagnose hardware issues, how to repair and replacement procedures in hardware maintenance, then upgrading hardware components, data recovery techniques, disassembly and reassembly, software and the firmware updates, troubleshooting and support. So, why is the hardware maintenance so important? The importance of hardware maintenance include extending the hardware lifespan, improving the performance, preventing data loss, reducing downtime, saving costs, enhancing security, maintaining warranties, and ensuring overall reliability. Regular maintenance help keep system running smoothly and efficiently while minimizing the risk of unexpected failures and costly repairs. We will start by defining hardware. A computer hardware is the physical component that a computer system requires to function. It encompasses everything with a circuit board that operates within a PC or laptop. Anything you can see on a computer system or a laptop is called, if you can see it and touch it, it's called a hardware. So examples of computer hardware are motherboard, graphic cards, the CPU, ventilation fans, webcam, power supplies, and so on. All these images you can see, they are the examples of a computer hardware. So we'll take them one by one and discuss about them. We will start by introducing what are the internal components inside a system. The internal component of a computer system consists of hardware required to process data and allow the processor to communicate with other devices such as secondary storage, display screens, and the printers. The main internal components of a computer system are the CPU, which stands for processor, the main memory, input and output devices, or we call input and output, that is I/O controllers. These components are connected by the system bus, which is made up of address bus, the data bus, and the control bus. So we will discuss about what we call buses. So these are the internal components. This is the motherboard, this is the processor, this is the RAM memory or memory module, this is the optical drive, which we run our DVD disk. This is the hard drive. This is heatsink, which cools our processor. This is a floppy disk reader. This is the system fan and the power supply. We will define a motherboard and explore it. The motherboard is the center of what makes a PC works. It houses the CPU and is a hub that all other hardware runs through. Motherboard connects everything internally and externally. This is a typical example of a computer motherboard. You see the processor is connected here, the RAM modules, the RAM slots, the CMOS battery, and everything is connected here. The audio, the USB ports, LAN ports, and anything is connected to the computer through motherboard. There's what we call motherboard form factor. A form factor refers to the size, shape, and the layout of motherboard, including its dimensions, mounting point, power connections, and the arrangement of its components, such as CPU, RAM slots, and expansion slots. The form factor determines the compatibility of a motherboard with computer cases, power supplies, and other hardware components. Motherboard form factor are of different types. We have ATX, which stands for Advanced Technology Extended. We have Micro ATX, we have Mini ATX, we have EATX, which stands for Extended ATX. We have Flex ATX, we have Nano ATX, and we have Pico ATX. So these are the examples and the images of the types of the motherboard form factor. You can see them. This is EATX, which is Extended ATX. This one stands for ATX. This one is Micro ATX, and this one is Mini ITX. The processor. Processor, we can call it a central processing unit or a processor, or you can just name it as a CPU. Is responsible for processing all information from programs run by the computer. The clock speed, or the speed at which the processor processes information, is measured in gigahertz. This means that processor advertising a high gigahertz rating will likely perform faster than a similar specified processor of the same brand and age. That means the higher the speed of the processor, the higher the speed of the computer. So the processor determines the speed of the computer. That's why if you are going to buy a computer, it's better you go for a very higher processor for you to have a very good computing experience. And a typical modern processor speed ranges from about 1.0 gigahertz to about 5.0 gigahertz. Intel and AMD are the two most popular processor manufacturing company in the world. Then memory. We'll discuss about a primary memory, which stands for random access memory or RAM. Random access memory or RAM or primary memory is hardware found in the memory slot of the motherboard. The role of RAM is to temporarily store on the fly information created by programs, and to do so in a way that makes this data immediately accessible. Without primary memory, a computer will not be able to start. You can turn on a computer, but it will be producing you some beeping sound. That means there is no memory for a computer to start up. So when you start up your computer system, the processor will be powered on first, and then it will require the primary memory to turn on the PC and then start working. So a RAM stores data temporarily. It comes in types like DDR, DDR2, DDR3, DDR4, and DDR5. Desktop RAM is called DIMM, which stands for Dual Inline Memory Modules, and the laptop RAM is called SODIMM, which stands for Small Dual Inline Memory Modules. Chipset. A chipset is a set of electronic components in one or more integrated circuits, known as a data flow management system, that manages the data flow between the processor, the memory, and the peripherals. It is usually found on the motherboard. Chipsets are usually designed to work with a specific family of processors. Chipset is divided into two, which is a north bridge and a south bridge. So chipset, it will allow you to pass information from one component to another component. We'll discuss it more in detail in the next page. Then north bridge and the south bridge. North bridge connects the CPU to high-speed component like RAM and the GPU on motherboard, while south bridge manages lower devices like USB port, hardware drives, and audio. So this is a typical example of the chipset, which comprises north bridge and the south bridge. So north bridge is closest to the CPU. You see the CPU directly to the north bridge, the RAM to the north bridge, and the HGP, which stands for the display. So these ones, if you have a CPU and RAM, you also have a HGP, which stands for graphic memory. Your computer is going to be displayed. But south bridge connects your what you call BIOS system, your IO system, your PCI, and your USB. So this is a typical example of the north bridge and the south bridge from your motherboard. This is the motherboard socket here, And look at this, north bridge is very closer to the processor, while the south bridge is somehow far from the processor. That's what we call CMOS chip and the CMOS battery. CMOS stands for complementary metal oxide semiconductor. It's a type of technology that uses a battery-powered chip to store system information in a computer. The CMOS chip is located in the motherboard and is powered by a CMOS battery. What is a CMOS battery? It's a small coin-shaped battery that powers the CMOS chip, usually a CR2032 lithium ion cell battery. It lasts for about 2 to 10 years depending on the usage and the environmental factors. It is found in both desktop and laptop computers. What is a CMOS chip? A CMOS chip is a small battery powered chip that stores system information like the date and time and the hardware configuration. It stores the BIOS information. BIOS stands for Basic Input and Output System Settings and controls how the computer interacts with its hardware component. Then CMOS, what does a CMOS battery do? One of the functions of the CMOS battery, it maintains BIOS settings when the computer is turned off. That's why if you turn up your computer for more than 1 year, still when you turn it on, you will see the date and time does not change. It is still remain with the current date and time. So that's one of the functions of the CMOS battery. It ensures that the system settings are preserved even when the computer is powered off. What happens if the CMOS battery fails? The computer might have difficulty booting up, the computer might not be able to connect to the internet, the computer might be constantly beeping, and the driver might disappear. Some drivers might disappear, and the peripherals might not respond. The date and time might reset. Then BIOS. We have BIOS chip, and the BIOS firmware. A BIOS is a small program that starts your computer. A BIOS is a small program that starts your computer and check hardware before loading the operating system. BIOS chip is a tiny part of the motherboard where the BIOS program is stored. Then the BIOS firmware is actually instructions stored in the BIOS chip that helps the computer start and run. So BIOS is just a program that when you turn on your computer first and your processor start up, then you'll see a name of the manufacturer of your computer and loading some information on your computer. That's what we call BIOS, and it is called POST. That's power on self-test. We'll discuss this in later videos. So this is a typical example of a BIOS chip, and it contains what we call BIOS firmware, and the technology here is called BIOS. Then we have what we call buses. A bus is a communication system that transfers data between components inside a computer or between computers. So these are the typical example of buses. This is the inside computer motherboard. You see all these channels where the information is carried out. And look at the different type of buses. We have a control bus, we have address bus, we have data bus. Any type of bus, there is a specific information that it carries to any specific component in the computer hardware. Then we have what we call laptop hardware. Laptop hardware is a physical component of a laptop, including the CPU, the RAM, the storage, and the peripherals. Laptop it combines everything like the CPU, the monitor, the keyboard, and the mouse. All are printed and constructed in one single handheld notebook PC, which is called laptop, and is very portable for carrying to go any side. And anything that is inside the computer, a desktop computer, a laptop computer also have it. So this is the laptop hardware. Thank you for watching us.